this is a coulee, but
it looks like somebody's just been picking scabs off the skin of the land, and that was these water flows rushing through it, filled with icebergs and whole forests ripped up by their roots. Naturally, it looks like torn up scabs.
And so it's your assertion that this all came out of the cataclysm, that this all came out of the impacts, comet impacts?
James Teller, a geologist, has dated these flows 12,800 to 12,900 years ago.
And how has he done that?
Radiocarbon dating primarily, by finding, if you have a flood and it's picking up anything organic, bone, wood, whatever, and then you look in those deposits, and you sample, and the samples, let's say, because it's a flood, what it's going to do, it's going to pick up younger and older material because it's washing away, it's excavating other land. And so what you do is you get enough datable material, and if it keeps coming up that the maximum age is a given age, that's probably when the flood happened, or a minimum age, rather, not a maximum age. In other words, a flood might pick up stuff that's 15,000 years old and 12,000. Well, when did the flood happen? At 15,000 or 12,000? So what you do is you look for the youngest datable material, and that should usually give you a pretty good idea of when the flood happened. So James Teller has dated this overflow here, and again, it comes out perfectly consistent with the younger Dryas.
I think it's important to add at that point that there's a reason for all of this, and this is a huge controversy in science at the moment. We know that there was enormous flooding 12,800 years ago, but the question is what caused it? Why did it happen then? And there's a very powerful theory, which is now backed by more than 100 mainstream scientists, that the Earth passed through the debris stream of a disintegrating comet, and that theory is called the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. And those several bits of that disintegrating comet might have been pretty big, maybe up to 1 kilometer in diameter, and they landed on the North American ice cap, generating huge amounts of heat. Tremendous shock wave hits the ice cap, and it turns that ice into water, and it rushes down southwards, fills up these lakes, overflows these lakes, and tears up the landscape underneath it. And this Younger Dryas impact hypothesis is by far, in my view, the best explanation of what's going on. And I'm very happy to say that the Comet Research Group, the 100 scientists who are behind this, they've been funding their own research for nearly 2 decades because no big mainstream institution would get behind them. But just in the last couple of years, some big funding has come into the Comet Research Group, and they're now in a position to go look at Antarctic ice, to go look at all the evidence from all over the world that shows that this cataclysm did happen 12,800 years ago, and that we're dealing with something really that is almost unimaginable in its scope, and which should change the way that we look at the history of the human species. If it were not for this resistance, I wonder if we could just show a short clip which has got Randall in it, the Randall clip, which is from the Ancient Apocalypse show, and where Randall makes the point at the end of it that once we take this into account, the whole story of history is going to change completely. And that's what we're fighting for. We're fighting for some recognition that something really important is missing.
All right, here we go.
Ancient structures, built with surprising sophistication.
It's the most amazing archaeoastronomy site in North America,
revealing the fingerprints of an advanced prehistoric civilization.
This pillar is like our Rosetta Stone.
The possibility of civilization emerging earlier than we think it gets much stronger.
It's going to absolutely demand a rewriting of history as we know it.
Ooh.
And this is the point. This is why I've made this series, because that idea has to get out there, that we got to stop being so complacent about how we look at our past. And for the very same reason, we need to stop being so complacent about how we look at our future as well. We live in a hazardous cosmic environment. It just happens that we live at a time in the human story where if we chose to do so, we could actually do something about it.
What